Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today I did want to have another little discussion about Kanye West. It's a slight update, but I do think it's an update very much worth noting because in the past, months, I don't know how long it's been at this point, but I don't know where the timeline truly began, but from the moment he started dating Bianca Censori, things have been very, very weird, especially if we think about the fact that he often wouldn't want Kim to wear things that were too revealing, or he was apparently very particular about her wardrobe. That is not consistent with where we're at now, and granted, people can change, blah, blah, blah. It's just such an abrupt change that you gotta wonder, okay, was this always bullshit? Did something happen? Why was he basically policing Kim Kardashian's outfits, yet here with Bianca Censori, he is supporting her going out literally naked, like with a mesh dress, we return to the legality of it all. But putting that aside, it turns out I found this article completely randomly. It was suggested to me out of nowhere. Kanye West, I have an addiction to porn and it destroyed my family. So it says Kanye West admitted to having an addiction to porn, saying it destroyed his family. Don't let Chris make you do Playboy like she made Kylie and Kim do, he began in an Instagram post on Thursday addressing Victoria Villarroel, I don't know where she's from, sorry guys, Kylie Jenner's former assistant. I didn't even know that she was her former assistant because they used to be in so many pictures together. I just assumed. Anyway. So already I'd be very curious to know what happened there because I don't feel like there's any sort of normal falling out with friends. And when I say normal falling out, it's just like as an adult, sometimes you just grow more distant from each other and nothing bad actually happened. With the Kardashians, it never seems to be that simple, so I'd be very, very curious to know what triggered that. But anyway. Hollywood is a giant brothel. Pornography destroyed my family. I deal with the addiction. Instagram promotes it. Not gonna let it happen to Northie in Chicago, he continued. The Donda rapper was talking about Kris Jenner, who manages Kylie, and his ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, supporting her daughter as they shot for Playboy magazine in September 2019 and 2007, respectively. Okay, so when Kim Kardashian did Playboy, and then also when Kylie did Playboy, they, granted, were young, but they were in their 20s, which I think it's weird for a parent to be very gung-ho about their daughters doing Playboy or anything sexual. I think parents being too involved in anything sexual in their children's lives is automatically very creepy, other than, sex ed. As much as I think it's creepy that she seconded this, because I would never second my daughter doing something like that. Also just for future stuff. And if you do sex work, this isn't shaming sex work. It's more the question of how much of it is your choice versus something that you're being pushed to do. And that I think is the main question here, right? Because Kylie was 22 in 2019. Kim was in 2007. I think she was 27 or something along those lines. So these were not girls who just turned 18 or, thank God, they weren't minors, right? At the same time, I have to wonder how much of it is Kris pushing it as a business strategy as opposed to oh, my daughter told me she wants to do this, I'm going to support her in it, or whatever other kind of ideology we want to imagine. So I do think that that's interesting. It doesn't surprise me that Kanye would be against it, but again, we return to the massive irony of he basically clothes, if that's what you want to call his girlfriend or wife or whatever they are at this point. Apparently they're over also. I can't keep that many tabs on them, honestly. He quote unquote clothes her in basically nothing, and then he turns around and at the same time is I don't want my daughters to do anything like that. And granted, obviously your daughters are not going to be the same as your partner or your wife, but usually the morals, the ethics, whatever you want to call it, carry over. So it's very rare that you have super separate rules in your life. It would be like me being completely against every single religion and then also going to mass every Sunday. It's okay, how do I make those two things align? They don't. So then it says, this was one of the many posts the rapper shared on Instagram where he called out his former mother-in-law as well as Hillary Clinton, Mark Zuckerberg, and Charlemagne the God, who he's feuded with in the past. See, there's some points here also where I just think he's being messy to be messy, because it's one thing to want to make a stand against pornography, blah, blah, blah. That's totally fine. And I think that's actually pretty healthy considering how many people out there are porn addicts who don't know that they're porn addicts. But at the same time, it's like, why does any of this ever have to be public? Like, as much as they may have had falling outs with the Kardashians and the West and the Kardashians, as much as they might have had a falling out, it's still the father of Kim's children. I really doubt there was no private way where he could voice all of this. But we also know that Kanye doesn't give a fuck about being messy. But again, even dragging in Hillary Clinton, Mark Zuckerberg, like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Hillary Clinton's going to call you and be like, hey, Kanye, I'm so sorry for whatever it is that I'm doing that's not okay according to you? In his first post today, West greeted quote-unquote Hillary and quote-unquote Mark, telling them that they were going to take me off Instagram. He also declared, my kids going to Donda, they not going to their school. Charlemagne the God and Chris, get your motherfucking popcorn. West, who shares North St. Salm and Chicago with Kardashian, has previously disagreed with his 4 kids going to their school, which he also picked out. I'm trying to make the math, but it's not mathing. I mean, you can change your mind. Then it says, in a second post, he shared a screenshot of his text messages where an unidentified person, presumably Kardashian, asked him to stop. No, we need to talk in person. You don't have a say-so of where the kids go to school. Why you get to say, 'cause you half white, he responded. Then it goes on to say, amid their conversation, she told him that her mom was asking him to please stop mentioning her name. Since 2019, West has been publicly slamming Chris for allegedly trying to lock him up. I'm almost 67 years old and I don't always feel great, and this stresses me to no end, Chris seemingly begged him, according to Kardashian, to which he replied, y'all don't have so over my black children, or I guess say so over my black children and where they go to school. He told the Skims mogul that they will not do Playboy and sex tapes and to tell your Clinton friends to come get him. I'm here, he concluded the message. But that wasn't the end, as Ye proceeded to slam people who believed he was spiraling due to his tirade. Anybody that says I'm spiraling when I express the undeniable truths is a sheep, he wrote in yet another post, telling people to shut the fuck up and worry about your own kids. I obviously am dealing with wars at the highest levels of control and discrimination based on the level that I'm operating, he said, as he compared himself to an orchestra conductor. Oh, Ye is crazy, is basic as fuck at this point. I'm simply right. I know girls who sell pussy that don't agree with how my daughters are displayed. Ye, who stated on social media that he was the kid's father, claimed that he'd been driven crazy before, something he wasn't going to let happen again. It's not up to Calabasas or Hulu, okay, that's so random, where my kids go to school. I'm not the crazy one, he said, adding, I won't shut up until I have a say-so on my kids, no matter what it legally takes. Now, with one thing, I will agree that he should have somewhat of a say in what happens with his children's lives. And when I say somewhat, I'd say if he were demonstrably mentally well, which I don't know if he is, and that's not shade about mental health, it's just going on these types of tirades doesn't really inspire particular faith in his mental well-being. He should have a say, like I said, to a degree, depending on how well he is. At the same time, it's also like, what did you think was going to happen considering you're posting all this stuff? Because if you really wanted to have a say, honestly, as boring as it might sound or as annoying as it might sound, you should have just gone straight to lawyers. You should have kept a lot of this private. You should have talked to Chris, Kim, whoever in the family you need to talk to. But to put it all online, it makes it seem like you're having an episode. And I don't like labeling it that, but that's what it's been labeled before. Plenty of times we've seen headlines where they're like, oh, Kanye has another manic episode or a whatever mental illness they're ascribing to him that day. So it's like, we know this formula already. And I think that's what makes people also doubt of his well-being is we know how this story goes and we know it doesn't end well anytime for Kanye. It just makes him seem incoherent and inconsistent because on one end, you're basically airing out your family's business. You're airing out business to do with your kids, Like, this is not really what would inspire anyone to particularly trust you on any given matter, because it just seems like everything's just going to be made public. And I don't know about you guys, but I would never, ever, ever want to be around someone where I actually have to doubt that they're going to keep our family affairs our own family affairs. Back in March, West claimed that his custody agreement with Kardashian was unfair after slamming her for letting their oldest daughter, North, have her own TikTok account. "I just got off the phone with Kim," the Yeezy designer said in an Instagram video at the time. "I told her to stop antagonizing me with this TikTok thing. I said, it's never again. I'm her father. I know y'all don't respect fathers and the idea of family, and the media tries to promote something. I said, I'm not allowing my daughter to be used by TikTok, by Disney. I have a say-so," he continued. "And when people say they're going to use this against you in court, I didn't even have a say-so whether or not they went to their school. Most men do not. There's no such thing as 50-50 custody in society today. It always leans toward the mom." He additionally shared a third screenshot of a text grab from quote-unquote Monica, who told him she wanted to stop doing OnlyFans and do fashion consulting full-time. West also shared various posts where he called out Adidas and Gap, brands that he's worked with but recently slammed. He first called out Adidas for making decisions without him in terms of the distribution of his Yeezy shoe collection, and then Gap for allegedly copying his Yeezy and Balenciaga collection with them. 4 hours after his initial posts, Ye wiped his Instagram clean. And I think that's another thing that's kind of symptomatic of people not taking these posts seriously, aside from, like I said, airing out personal information that doesn't really need to be aired out, also because it can be used against the kids at some point. But anyway, it's also the fact that it seems like he is unilaterally just going against anyone who has wronged him or he has perceived as having wronged him. And I think that that's also what makes him seem so explosive, is that there's no solid topic, you know? Like, if you want to talk about a porn addiction, talk about your own porn addiction. That's your experience. You can talk about that. But if you start going from porn addiction to then starting to talk about your daughters and what you will and won't let them do, and then you move on from a screenshot of whoever the fuck Monica is who wants to do fashion consulting, and then you go on to talk about Adidas and Balenciaga, and it's like, I don't know where to look. And I don't know if that's part of also what he wants to do, is the creation of chaos for the sake of chaos. And I think that's also what scares people, because how do you trust or rely on a person when they're like that? Anyway, you guys can let me know. This is just a quick update, but since we've been talking about it so much, and since there have been so many headlines about Bianca Censori not wearing anything out, basically, I thought that this was an interesting parallel to that, since, like I said, it kind of goes against everything his partner quote unquote stands for at the moment as far as the public knows. I don't know if he's in therapy, but I do think he should be. Not as a shade, again, because I'm in therapy as well, but more as a way to just say these things to someone who can react in a way that won't just be bashing you. Because realistically on the internet, what are people going to do with this? They're going to say he's having some episode. They're going to say he can't be taken seriously. They're going to say he's a hypocrite. But that feedback, I guess, is useful if you want it to be. At the same time, though, the place it's coming from, you know that these are not people who necessarily are on your side. When instead you're doing that with a therapist, first of all, they'll ask you questions that are a little more nuanced than people on social media. But it's also like, really what they are is like your brain doctor, basically, right? They're trying to help you fix whatever's psychologically up with you. So you have someone who's on your side and has your best interest at heart. And I think that he confuses the internet for that. Not that he doesn't get it. It's just like, it's almost like the internet is the diary, and it should never be that. And I know I've screamed about this a million times before. You don't even have to be a celebrity for me to think this. I don't think the internet should be anyone's diary. I mean, to a given point, sure, you can say I went hiking today, whatever. It's a different thing to write like, oh, the mother of my children, blah, blah, blah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.